Hello, Tom, aka Gedeon here for Tabletop Tap Room. And I got to ask the question, did Eric Tenkar just get EGG of Cooted? Or to put it differently, did he just get parodied in the RPG industry? To answer that question, we need to bring up the latest from, you guessed it, Nu TSR 3.0. Here it is. One of the cards from the new Dungeon Crawl board game. The, oh my God, what is this? The Tenkarian Gibberer. Now, this is interesting. I mean, let's just cut right to the video of Eric's reaction to this.
The playtest version. I am guessing this image is for the full version. It says copyright TSR Hobbies. So what do we have here?
So the issue he's making with the copyright TSR Hobbies is originally the first cards we saw for this game, which also lacks some poor editing, were copyrighted to the company that developed it, that Justin Lanassa bought the game from. So now these are new cards for it, and those cards were for the playtest version. They were the beta version. These new cards are clearly produced by somebody at Nu TSR 3.0.
Forgive me, folks. Tenkarian Gibberer. All right. So, I'm sure we've all heard the saying, right? Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Well, if that's the case, parody is the greatest form of imitation. So, thank you, Justin, because I really do enjoy the free rent I get in your head. You've given me a card in this game. Now, here's the thing, folks.
So I love it. I love Tenkar's reaction to this. He's like, now I got to buy the game so he can frame this parody of himself and put it up on the wall, which would be my reaction too. I'm wondering why I didn't get a parody. Hey, I know Justin hates me pretty much too, because he's blocked me on Facebook. But I'm like, where's my parody? And hopefully it'll be in the Star Frontiers New Genesis game, where he tries to poke fun at me. Which, oh damn, that'll force me to buy that game so I could frame the parody and put it on my wall. But so his reaction is that yeah, and he spent some time picking apart this card. I mean, let's bring it right up here. Short, chubby, and angry. And he's like, yeah, I don't know about short. I'm 5'9", but I am chubby, and so angry. As he gets closer, you hear him and his mindless gibbering. He hates anything what will not listen to him, period. So 2 observations. Number one, the editing here. I mean, they bought this game from another company that developed it, but they couldn't afford an editor. And Tenkar actually has now dubbed the we used to talk about Gygaxian prose, where we had to pull out the dictionary and look up a word that we read in the the monster manual or the player's handbook or the dungeon master's guide and figure out, so this word means this within this context. So yeah, there was Gygaxian prose, but now we have pure low Lanassian. This is written in pure low Lanassian, pretty much like everything else that we've seen, where it's just atrocious grammar. Yeah, and Spellcheck didn't catch this but Grammarly would have. I mean, come on, guys, get Grammarly. It's it'll keep you from this kind of embarrassment. They couldn't even they just couldn't even get the grammar right. And Tenkar's got another video that just came out today where there's some more of these cards from this game that are just, the editing is so bad. It's just so screwed up, and you're paying money for this game. It's so unprofessional. But we're here to talk about this parody, this Tenkarian Gibberer. And it goes back to the Egg of Coot. Let me see if we can make this a little bigger here. And the Egg of Coot was this elder demon that was created for the Blackmore setting by Arneson, and everybody thought that the Egg of Coot, EGG, stood for E. Gary Gygax. And Coot, just old, you old Coot, insulting kind of word. And so it was assumed that it was. And there's some difference of opinion on the internet that because Gygax denied it, but Gygax doesn't really matter. Whether Gygax denies it or not doesn't really matter. You have to get the denial from Arneson himself. And apparently he did also deny it. But maybe he didn't want to admit that he had done that. I don't know. When you read the description of the Egg of Coot, it makes me think, yeah, this is about Gygax. But there is a allegation out there, and people are very strong on this allegation, that it was a wargamer that had been part of the same club group that Arneson was part of, who was jealous and irritated that Arneson had started this fantasy thing, and it had drawn some of the wargamers over to this newfangled Dungeons and Dragons, this Blackmore thing. And so this guy really caused some trouble for Arneson, apparently, and even played a practical joke on Arneson that cost Arneson some money, allegedly. And this guy's name was Greg Scott. And they say that the egg comes from the EGG of the guy's first name, Greg, and the Coot comes from the COT, just add an extra O, of his last name, Scott. I've never known a Greg who had two G's in their first name, personally. So I know that's very, and I've read it. I know that there's a very strong allegation. No, it's not Gygax. It's this other guy, this wargamer, who caused a lot of trouble. Either way, it's still a parody. But it was actually a smarter parody, smart, because it was obscure. And there were probably legions of D&D players who never figured out that Egg of Coot was a parody of somebody. It's enough was changed about it that it wasn't like a smoking gun with a glaring sign pointing right at, Greg Scott or E. Gary Gygax. Egg. If the egg does stand for E. Gary Gygax, then that's kind of a little bit glaring. But it was a smarter parody than what we got from Lanassa here.
I want to spend my 50.
So this Tenkarian Gibberer, it's and it just shows the level of unprofessionals. Now I have some experience with this sort of thing where people are venting spleen. I had in college worked on the yearbook, and my freshman year I was assisting. I was not the editor, and one night we were trying to get all the copy done so it could be sent out on time for the company that was going to publish it. And somebody almost typed, the girl who was helping us almost typed and changed this guy's name, who he had D-O-T in his name, and she almost typed but, and then combined with the rest of his name was kind of funny. And so the editor said, yeah, do that. And I was like, you can't do that. And And she was like, I'm not doing that. And so he reached over and typed in BUTT. And yeah, it was kind of funny. It was a funny parody of this guy's name, but you're using your platform to vent spleen on somebody you don't like. And he didn't like him. He didn't like that faculty member. And I felt so guilty about it. I actually blocked the memory of that happening, so that when the yearbook came out, I was as surprised as, I was, it so ate at me, and I've actually blocked the memory. And so I was actually called in the office, and they asked me, I says, I have no idea. And so I went to the editor, the editor, and I said, hey, the editor in chief. And I says, how did this happen? He goes, you were there. And I was like, I don't remember it. And I had to stop and really think. And I'm like, yeah, I think I kind of do remember that now. That it so ate at me. I was so bothered by it. And it was not cool because that becomes like a permanent record. And and he used his platform as the editor of the yearbook to mock one of the professors. It was just so unprofessional, not cool. And he was never the yearbook editor again. And then years later, I'm working with the editorial team at the Frontier Explorer fan magazine, Star Frontiers fan magazine. And previously, we'd had a regular contributor who contributed back in the Star Frontiersman days. And he had this beef going with the editor of the Star Frontiersman, and they'd had a falling out. And it was quite a little bit caustic on one side. And I stayed friends with him. I stayed in contact with him, and he had self-published a book. And I said, well, tell me, give me a link. I'll buy a copy. I'll read it, and I'll review it in the magazine, because we were doing some reviews. And I started reading it. It was so not the thing we could review in the magazine. It was so sexually explicit and violent. It was, because we try to have a family-friendly magazine. And so I gave the guy some critiquing on it privately, just between us. And he got so upset with me. He cut off all contact. We never spoke again directly. And then out of the blue, we got a submission from him. And I was like, oh, cool, because I always enjoyed this guy's submissions. And it was fiction. And in this fiction, he named myself and the editor that had been at the Star Frontiersman that he had a beef with. And that, it was the aliens were coming in, and the alien fleet showed up, and there were two frigates, and one frigate had my name, and the other frigate had Larry's name. And, and in his story, those two frigates were completely blown away without ever firing a shot by the alien enemy. And so I spoke with Tom, who's editor-in-chief at the Frontier Explorer. Says, we're not publishing this. This is just this guy venting spleen against me and against Larry. We're not going to give him a platform for it. So we buried it, and it's probably at the very back of 4 pages of the submissions queue. We just buried it and never did anything with it. It's it's kind of sad. If you do a parody, you've got to invest some thought in it, so that it just doesn't make you look like a petty little jerk. And that's what that's how this Tenkarian Gibberer comes off. And and not only that, I mean, just the whole grammar here is so, if you're going to do a parody, don't open yourself up to have it picked apart because your grammar sucks, that you don't know how to use Grammarly, that you're, but this is so standard for what comes out of Nu TSR 3.0 these days. It's just absolutely pathetic. It's not even on the same level of the EGG of Coot, whoever that's parodying. I know that, no argument about, I'm not going to get in the argument whether it was Gary Gygax or was it this other guy, Greg Scott. The consensus is that EGG of Coot was a parody, but at least it was a smart one. It was a little more sophisticated. But this is just pathetic, and I love Eric's reaction to it. That he's like, I gotta buy the damn game now so I can frame this card. You know, and I wish wish it really was possible, like he said, that he could get it signed by Lanassa. That'd be make it even more awesome. But so yeah, Tenkar did get Egg of Cooted, but it wasn't on the same level as the Egg of Coot. He got parodied, but it's pretty pathetic, and and it's just more. It's illustrative of more of the garbage that comes out of Nu TSR these days. So I'm going to put some links in the show notes to this particular video if you want to go and watch it yourself. Also, there's another video that just came out where it's more of these cards that are just the grammar is so, as Eric says, the grammar is pure low Lanassian. It's just a challenge for an intelligent person to read. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. But yeah, so we've got more of the Egg of Coot going around, but it's just petty and low class and just kind of sad. Makes me feel sad for the dumpster fire that is Nu TSR 3.0. So this is Tom, aka Gedeon, reporting for Tabletop Taproom. And I want to thank you for watching. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. Appreciate y'all. More of the rolling dumpster fire from TSR 3.0. I don't know when this is going to end. Someday we will never have to report on them again. But here we are. Until next time, though, keep on gaming.